All right, so in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background to Social Security. So to kind of set the stage for this, we kind of need to rewind the clock a little bit. And if you look back historically, society used to be primarily agrarian, and until the Industrial Revolution, generally people were living a lot closer to the proverbial land, and they were in many cases growing their crops and then that's what they would eat, and it was difficult to store things from year to year. So if you fast forward to the Industrial Revolution, we had more people moving into cities and working in factories. And then eventually, what rose out of that was the possibility that people could invest in companies more widely. And so people could kind of set aside money in ways that they might not have been able to as much before, more financial institutions, and you could earn interest, and things like that were more prevalent. I mean, obviously, interest has existed for long before then, but it became more widespread, and there wasn't quite as much the same focus on, what you grow is what you eat this year. And so as people kind of started moving more into that scenario, it became possible for people to possibly set aside some wages and things like that for them to live off of in a retirement, which previously retirement hadn't really existed in that sense, and people generally just worked until they died, or at least as close to that as possible, and maybe lived with extended family members as they were getting to older age, not able to support themselves as much. So from that standpoint, that's pretty much what used to happen. Well, then once you get to the point where people could actually set money aside and resources aside and so forth, the idea of retirement kind of started to develop, and that people could actually stop working possibly, maybe when they were less able to, and live off of what they had set aside previously. And then that kind of basically sort of led to, in conjunction with another issue, which is increased life expectancy, the idea that between the higher life expectancy and more urbanization and being able to set things aside, this idea of actually like a retirement sort of emerged from all of this. And people were able to conceivably actually get to the point where they stopped working and retiring. Now, if you look at Social Security sort of emerged after that transition was ongoing. And there are some interesting basics for the Social Security program that kind of intersect with those trends. So specifically, Social Security was originally devised as a pay-as-you-go program. And what that means is when they created the program, they didn't start with a big pot of money to pay benefits in that sense. What they did is they started taxing people, and the money that came into Social Security was then used to pay the benefits to people who retired and started receiving benefits. So what that meant was basically it's not like people paid into Social Security into an account in their name. Really what happens is when you pay into Social Security, it goes into the program, and some of that money goes out almost immediately to pay benefits to whoever is currently retired. So that's what it means by a pay-as-you-go program. The contrast to this would be if you look at, say, a retirement account like a 401k or something like that, where you put your money into the account, and then when you retire, you take money out of that account and it's in your name, that's what's in there. And if you don't put the money in, there's nothing to take out, right? But for Social Security, really what's happening is people who are currently working are paying in, and that money is being used largely to pay the benefits of those who are receiving money. So it's not like when you pay taxes, it doesn't go into an account with your name on it. It basically goes into a fund, and a lot of that money then immediately bounces back out to pay current benefits. So the interesting challenge with that, and this is one of the primary issues facing Social Security, is that means that Social Security is affected quite a bit by demographic shifts. So when they first created Social Security, life expectancy was a bit shorter than it is now. And also the population as a whole was a lot younger on average. And so there were a lot more people who were paying into Social Security than who were receiving Social Security benefits. Well, as life expectancy has increased, the length of time after retirement in which people are living has tended to increase as well. And also, the population as a whole has skewed towards being gradually older, partially due to the fact that people are, statistically speaking, having fewer children. And so if you have fewer children and the population is gradually getting older, so the whole baby boomer group has gotten older and is now basically facing retirement and in retirement, things like that. So basically, one of the interesting challenges is for a pay-as-you-go program, the demographic characteristics of the population affect the viability of the program. So whereas before there may have been, say, 6, 8, or more people who are currently working to pay the benefits for one particular person, now that could be a situation where it is more of like 2, 3, maybe 4. Yeah, so it could be a lot. It could be a lot lower depending. I'd have to check the data. So that actually significantly affects the viability of the program as a whole. So for Social Security, one of the kind of key basics associated with Social Security is that it was never really intended to form a replacement for all of your pre-retirement wages. So it was never really intended to completely replace everything you'd been living off of previously. It was really more intended to sort of keep you out of complete destitution, which is a bit of a different standard from perhaps what we are expecting today. So as a result, people's expectations of what Social Security will pay can be kind of a bit misaligned with what the program was set up to do. Now, also because it's a pay-as-you-go program, and also because money doesn't go into just an account with your name on it, basically there's a relationship between what you pay and what you into Social Security and what you receive, but it varies a little bit depending upon what kind of wages you earn. So what I mean by that is that lower wage earners actually tend to receive a higher proportion of their pre-retirement wages than the higher wage earners. So as you get progressively higher wages, you do get up to a point more benefits in Social Security. But on a proportionate basis, the folks with the lower wage earner or the lower wage earner folks are going to get a higher proportion of their wages replaced. So it's not exactly a strictly proportionate relationship there. And that's basically designed so that those with the lower wages get a higher amount of replacement, basically again to try to help prevent them from going into complete destitution. I mean that's kind of the point there. So another thing that's worth noting for the Social Security Administration. So this is kind of a basics of sort of Social Security as a whole, and that is that there are actually a variety of benefits that are or categories of benefits that are administered by the Social Security Administration. So the one that we tend to think of is the retirement benefits. And so this is basically you retire and you get a certain amount from Social Security. Again, it's not intended to replace all of your wages. It's more designed to try to keep you from complete destitution. Now, in order to get the full amount that you could conceivably get, then you have to retire what's considered to be full retirement age. And so I believe at this point, I believe that's 67. So if you retire prior to age 67, let's see, because you can start receiving benefits, I believe, at age 62 currently. And so if you're retired at 62 or 63, what that would mean is you would not receive full benefits at that point. You would receive partial benefits. So that's the thing that most people tend to think of when they think Social Security. There are also disability benefits. So these disability benefits are payable at any time to workers with enough Social Security credits. So if you have enough of a work history, basically, then you can receive disability benefits if you become disabled. And this was actually mentioned as it related to disability insurance in prior videos as well, the fact that there can be a payout from Social Security. Again, shouldn't expect that would replace all of your earnings, but it's something, right? Then there are family benefits. So these are benefits that are paid to families of workers eligible for retirement. So basically, there can be some family members that wind up being eligible, and that kind of gets pulled in as well. And then that brings up survivors benefits. So these are the family members of a deceased worker. So if a worker dies, then the survivors can actually continue to receive a certain portion of the benefits. And the reason why this is true is because if you had, let's say, a household with one main wage earner, and that person had been working and retired and was counting on some of that Social Security to help pay the bills for the home. If they've kind of structured their whole finances around, that being part of their retirement plan, it would be a problem if that person died and then whoever was left behind in the family all of a sudden has like no income anymore, or at least drastically reduced. Goes to almost zero. So in that case, obviously that's kind of an issue. And so the intent was, well, so for like a surviving spouse, for instance, a portion of those benefits, generally not the full amount, but a portion would typically continue to remain payable to the a surviving spouse. And that there actually are rules that as it relates to kids and things like that, and when kids would receive benefits or not. And it can be linked to ages and the ages of the children, and all those kinds of interesting things, whether there's a disability involved and so on and so forth. Interestingly, Medicare is actually administered through the Social Security Administration as well. So it's technically a sort of a separate program, but it is administered through Social Security, at least in terms of the bureaucratic side of things. And so that's where you'd have the hospital and medical insurance that I've discussed in prior videos about health insurance. Then you get to supplemental security income benefits. And this is basically funded by the general funds of the federal government. So normally the Social Security taxes that get paid into Social Security go into Social Security. Most of them go out to pay benefits because it's a pay-as-you-go program, as discussed. But for this part of Social Security as a program, the supplemental security income benefits that are paid out, that is funded by general funds of the federal government. So that would not be kind of lumped under the same Social Security taxes group, but funded by general funds. And that's going to pay for some benefits for people with low income and few assets. And generally those folks would qualify for Medicaid as well. Okay. Hopefully this video gives you a little bit of an overview of some of the basics of kind of the Social Security program, just a little bit about kind of how it works, and some of the different categories of benefits. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.